Greetings, film freaks. We are the Podcorn Kernels. Join us as we discuss the hard and often indigestible truths that are at the center of the fluffy and delicious world of cinema. Season 2.
What's poppin', people? Welcome to the Podcorn Kernels podcast. My name is Adam, and joining me in the earholes is Harry. Say hello, Harry.
In some scenes, E.T. was puppeted using a 10-year-old boy who was born without legs, but he was an expert at walking on his hands.
On today's episode, we will be talking about Under the Shadow. This is a 2016 film directed by Babak Anvari and stars Narghez Rashidi, Avin Manshadi, and Bobby Nadiri. IMDb describes the synopsis as follows. As a mother and daughter struggle to cope with the terrors of the post-evolution, war-torn Tehran of the 1980s, a mysterious evil begins to haunt their home. Here is an original song to support the synopsis.
I'm in a prison. It's made of cloth. I can't get out. I can't shout. I'm in a prison. No chains, no bars, no cell. You can't see it. It is hell. I'm in a prison. If I survive the terrors of war, if I survive this djinn that haunts, will I still be happy? No. 'Cause I'm in a prison. I'm in a prison. If I wanted to save my daughter, I'd have to think twice about what to put on my head before I leave the house. I'm in a prison. I'm in a prison, and one day, far from this place, she'll get away and change her fate. But until then, someone should say, what's going on in that place?
Let's start with some facts about the film. Under the Shadow was the official submission of the United Kingdom for the Best Foreign Language Film category of the 89th Academy Awards in 2017.
They didn't win it though, did it?
It did not. Do you know who won it?
I don't.
The Salesman. Seen it?
No.
Nor have I.
I have not seen The Salesman, but that's a shame. I know Commode ranked it his favourite film of 2016.
Yeah?
Yeah. Highly rated it.
Off the top of my head, I can't think of any big hitters in 2016, but in Commode we trust.
Well, I think the reason it would have such an effect on critics or anyone that watches it is it's a very unusual setting for a horror film.
Yeah.
To be in a sort of religious state in Iran, of all places.
I mean, I'm not well versed in horror films or films set in Iran. I've only seen a handful of both of those things. But I certainly haven't seen anything like this before.
No.
And that struck me almost immediately. It's got the same beats of a horror, you know, the suspense building and stuff like that. But there's nothing that while I was watching this or the days following watching this where I thought, oh, that film's actually a lot like this. There's not one that I could compare to.
It's very refreshing.
I found it odd that the United Kingdom has a offering for the best foreign language film.
No, because it was partnered with
Iran.
It was partnered with Qatar and I think Jordan. It was a collaboration between the three film industries to create it because it's not filmed in Iran. They couldn't do it in Iran.
Okay.
Because of the same reasons to what you see in the film happening. It's a controlled state, isn't it? Morality police and stuff. They would never allow a film to be filmed because in the scene where she gets reprimanded for having her hijab, it's not on her head. Yeah. She couldn't have filmed that in Iran. They wouldn't have let her.
Oh, of course. I guess I'm just a little bit ignorant because I didn't think that the UK would have a submission.
It's only because it had a finger in it.
Yeah.
I guess so. Because they played a part in it, they submitted it, I suppose, along with Doha. It's cool. I never even knew foreign film worked like that. I thought they just looked out at the countless countries, looked at the films that they produce, and then said, "We like your film." I didn't realise you make a submission like Eurovision.
Yeah, and it's mad the countries that do submit films that that obviously don't make it to the nominations phase. There's countries that you wouldn't even think would have a submission in them. And they do, and it's amazing to see.
Yeah.
At 1 hour, 11 minutes and 10 seconds, when Shide is on the terrace, the damaged part of the building on the right side resembles a human skull.
What?
Yeah.
Did you see this in second upon watch?
I read the fact before the first watch, looked out for it, could not see it, paused it at the time, looked for it, could not see it.
Wait.
Second watch, paused it at the time stated on said fact, couldn't see it. So I call bullshit.
What the fudge?
I
Unless
couldn't
we're
see
looking
it.
at a different edition.
Perhaps, I don't know. I know the scene that they speak of. She's on top of the roof where there's been some damage by
Iraqi missile.
Yeah, and I couldn't. I looked on the right side, left side, up, down. I personally couldn't see it.
You
But-
keep getting done over by facts at the moment.
Yeah,
don't you?
and I will always
sniff them.
I will always sniff out the facts to see if they are in fact facts.
Well, if they're not facts,
Yeah,
don't say it's a fact.
don't write it on the tinternet
That is the opposite of a fact.
and portray as such. If you watch it again, have a look. If you're a listener and you've seen the film and you can point out the skull in question, I'd love it if you got in touch and told me where it is, because I couldn't see it. But as well as that, later on in the film, there is a part where they're in the house and it's when all the shit's going down. There does look like there's a fucking face in a cushion, and I only saw it the second time round. And that shit me up on the second time.
I reckon you were seeing things, though. I think you were losing it a little. Talking about the facts, I remember hunting for years. I mean years. No different to Indiana Jones looking for the Ark of the Covenant. But in Raiders of the Lost Ark, it was always said that you could see a hieroglyphic of R2-D2 and C-3PO on the wall in the tomb. And I looked.
Yeah.
I had brooders that looked. I had Minor Father that looked.
Sent out a search party.
We all looked. We paused every scene.
Yeah.
It's in the room with all the snakes. And I scaled the walls. I did scene. I put it into bays. I got out red string. I did everything. I wrote down. I was like, where is it? I want to see this Easter egg.
Yeah.
It cannot be found. If someone can find it, tell me where it is. Take a photo of it on your screen and email it in.
Yeah.
Because I need to. I've been hunting for it for years.
Maybe that's something we can...
I think it's a lie.
It can be a quest for us.
I think it's a lie, mate.
As a team, as a unit, we can try and find it. With facts like that one and this one here, part of me is like, did someone just throw it in there and into the mixing bowl just for shits and gigs? Maybe. Are they just like, oh, we did this thing? And you're like, no, you didn't. And they're like, well, yeah, we are. We made the film. We know what we did. It's hard to argue with it.
Did you watch that documentary about people's interpretation of The Shining? It's like
No,
room 218, room
237, isn't
something
it?
like that. Yeah, room 237.
Yeah.
And so you get it from different perspectives of people that have studied the film. So one guy says it's about native Indians, and then it gets to this dude, and he says it's all about dicks. It's all about cock. Like he goes, look at this shot here, and he pauses it, and there's just something that's cylindrical or oblong shaped on the desk, and he says, look at how the character behind the desk is standing. That's implying his penis. I'm like, these people are finding shit that ain't even there.
That's reaching, isn't it?
I think it's reaching.
Surely The Shining is a great film and Kubrick is a master storyteller and director. Surely a man of that talent, stories so iconic as that, if there was any deeper hidden meanings, it would be more substantial than cock.
Yes.
It would have to be.
Yes. I mean, I get the native Indian aspect because there's tobacco with native Indians on it in the shot and stuff. But yeah, the dick one. But just talking about, like you were saying, like facts and stuff, facts that cannot be confirmed. They can't, but they cannot be clarified.
Yeah. I would love for you to give this film a watch at the hour, 11 minute and 10 second mark and see if you can see it. Maybe we'll do it after this because maybe you can see it. I really looked for it, man, and I couldn't find
Let's
it.
do it after.
I was upset. Final fact, included among the 1001 movies you must see before you die, edited by Steven Schneider.
Schneider! Really? Oh, man, I didn't realise. I didn't even know that.
I'm chuffed that it's included.
That's great.
Because, for the listeners, Harry chose this film, and I'd never even heard of it. I'd seen it when randomly sort of scrolling through Netflix, it was never a film that really appealed to me.
Fair to say it's a cover that wouldn't get you excited.
Yeah, and I don't even think I ever read the synopsis. It was just something that my subconscious took in on Netflix, and I just always assumed it's just another generic Netflix exclusive, so never thought much of it. And like we said early doors, like, it is a film that's uniquely independent, so I'm glad it's included in such a prestigious list.
I think so.
What did you like about Under the Shadow?
It's quite a big one, this, and sorry if it fluctuates between like and dislike, but they're all interconnected.
I will sit back and absorb your thoughts.
Just let me have a sip of this delicious Machu Picchu coffee.
We aren't being paid to advertise. It would be nice if we was.
Okay, all right, mate, calm down. So, biggest like is, this is an important film, and it's more important now than it has ever been. I love the allegory of a malevolent spirit haunting a mother and daughter during wartime, and that neither of those equally horrific events are in fact the real enemy. Take away the ghosts and bombs, and they are still a woman and a girl living in a society that oppresses women, or beats them to death for not wearing a piece of cloth on their head. Cases in point, plural. Armita Garavand died 1st of October 2023, was a 17-year-old Iranian girl who was beaten on a train by morality police for not wearing a scarf on her head. Fell into a coma, died.
Madness.
Masha Amini, 16th September 2022. 22-year-old Iranian woman Masha Amini died in a hospital in Tehran. The Guidance Patrol Religious Morality Police of Iran's government arrested her for not wearing a hijab in accordance with government standards. Eyewitnesses, including women who were detained with Armini, reported that she was severely beaten and died as a result of police brutality. What sort of backwater little man syndrome cesspit of a place beats women, girls to death because they haven't got a scarf on their head?
I mean, it's a madness, pure and simple. I understand. I'm long enough in the tooth to understand that humanity, we're all different cultures, all different beliefs, and all of these things. I'm very liberal in that fact. I understand differing opinions, all of that stuff. But when it's as barbaric and as recent as that, in 2023, 2022, that shit's
one was 3
happening.
months ago.
Yeah, that is absolutely shocking.
But why can you not believe it yourself? Why can you not just believe what you believe? Why do you have to impose it on people with violence?
So I have no idea, man. It's just pure madness. My brain can't comprehend like that. There is no. It's just madness. It's just beyond sort of explaining it. I just will never understand that. And they actually have a police force, a police task force called the Morality Police.
Yeah.
Why don't they have a morality police that says you shouldn't beat the shit out of young women because they don't have a
That is meta. I love
scarf?
It. I love that.
That's madness.
People are going around watching them because they're watching people. Yeah. And it just goes round in a vicious circle.
That's a good point. Well made.
Well, that's why I like that's the biggest reason I love the film.
Yeah.
Because I first saw it in 2016, really enjoyed it. It scared me. It made me jump. You can see straight through that the bigger picture, the bigger message is that they live in a sort of a police state.
Yeah.
And women are second-class citizens and treated as such. And that's why it's an important film, because it came out in 2016 and it's still happening. Girls and women are being beaten to death by morality police because they haven't got their hair covered. What the fuck are you on?
That is, it's madness.
Let me hit you with a little fact. This is good. So on 2013's Iranian Mother's Day, the patrols rewarded women with flowers for wearing chador, the preferred hijab style. Dude, that's like me being in prison and my daughter visiting on Father's Day to say, "You're so good at being a prisoner, Dad. Keep it up. One day you'll be the best prisoner."
I can't argue with that.
You go around saying, "You're being great. You've been great covering your hair up and stuff. I don't even know if you want to be doing it, if you're happy to be doing it, but here's some flowers. Take that, prisoner."
You're wearing the state-governed head material that we like here. Here's some flowers. Well, you're not wearing that. Right, me and my boys are going to kick the living shit out of you.
Yeah.
Fucking madness.
I knew you'd jive with that.
It's baffling, and I agree with your sentiment. It is an important film. And if you'll allow me, I'll snuggle down with a substantial like of mine.
I've been keeping it warm.
Yeah. Oh.
Come in.
Oh, here I come. It's a horror with substance.
Aye.
It's been mentioned on this podcast before. I am a man of wuss. I wouldn't say I hate horror, but it's not high on my preferred genre list.
No.
That being said, I do like it when a horror has something to say, and Under the Shadow certainly sits in that category for me. This film speaks to the very real fact that if you don't control your fear, it will control you, and highlights the true horror of how fear feeds on anxiety. I felt this was clever filmmaking from a director that had something important to say. Now, based on your first like, that adds weight to my facts, because I completely agree. There's loads of deep meaning in this one. And the decision to use an already horrific setting as this foundation to build horror on, the undoubted deeper subtext and the smart symbolism and excellent plot device to make fear itself enter a home via a weapon was all really smart.
Yeah.
Food for thought that it did kind of fuck me up, if I'm being honest.
It's it made me feel weird watching it.
Yeah.
It scares me.
Yeah. I mean, and full disclosure, it does not take a lot to scare me. No. I'm easily scared.
I'm the same.
Like every beat of a horror film, if there's a jump scare, I'm going to shit myself. It's a given guarantee. But this one, it's so much more than a horror. It's political. It has something to say, and it does a really good job of putting you in an environment and in a culture that feels so alien and foreign to us, but must be so continuously terrifying for those people that are under its sort of ever watchful gaze, like you said. Like,
it's like Big Brother, isn't it?
Yes, it's mad. And certainly what you saying all of that as it may even bump up my score, because you gave me a bit more perspective on a film I already feel quite highly towards.
I think that Babak Anvari is a really brave director, because he is Iranian born, and the fact that he's taken this sort of film, given a sort of stage for this sort of the treatment of women out there, I think that's really brave. Because you remember in the news a few months, maybe 2-3 years ago, I can't remember, that Jamal Ahmad Khashoggi, he was a Saudi Arabian guy who got murdered in the Turkish embassy by the Saudi Arabian government. Murdered, mutilated, packed up, literally like a government kill, because he had an opinion against the Saudi Arabian government. I mean, and this guy, Babak Anvari's made a film sort of showing that it's wrong how you're treating women in the country that I'm born in. So it's really dangerous in that neck of the woods to have opinions that go against the government.
I think the way he sort of cleverly masks it as well, because it on the surface level it's about horror. It's a horror about a djinn in your home, and it's about fear, anxiety, grief, all of these things. But you don't have to scratch for too long to realise what it's really saying.
It's good use of subtext.
Yeah, fantastic.
Really good use.
What else did you like about it?
What I just said actually amazes me. Director's Iranian, the subject's Iranian, and it's about a haunting. You don't get more ballsy really than that. I think there's the fact that the setting is so unique and new to everyone. Yeah, like you rarely see a horror film from a state like Iran. It would be like watching a horror film from North Korea. Yeah, a closed down religious state. Essentially, very difficult to get anything out of them countries. I know it wasn't filmed in Iran, but in essence, it is an Iranian film. Yeah,
as an audience member, you're watching this, and as far as you're concerned, it's all filmed. It's set in Iran.
Yeah, well, the actors as well. I'm quite sure Narges Rashidi and Avin Mashhadi are both Iranian, or at least heritage Iranian.
Well, I saw a film recently, and it based on what you've just said, maybe it's not actually filmed in Iran, but it's Holy Spider, and it was about an Iranian serial killer. Oh. And he targeted female prostitutes. And
that could still be an Iranian film then, because if they look down at prostitutes like devil possessed, then it promotes their agenda, doesn't it?
Well, I think the film does it treads that line between a lot of people sort of martyred this guy. It was like, well, he's doing God's work. He's killing people that have got low morals and deserve to be killed.
Spread disease and stuff.
And like he almost got away with it as like a man on a righteous mission. Mm-hmm. Like a lot of people supported him, and in the end, spoiler alert, they finally saw sense and executed him. Jesus. But it was 50-50. I mean, the film leads you to believe it was 50-50. I don't know the ins and outs and the true events. For large parts of the film, he could get away with it, which is just frightening.
That's mad. I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if it's filmed in Iran, especially if it's still to do with morality and killing the... Yeah. But I don't know. I would have to see it. Sounds good, Lou.
It's a good film.
Sounds interesting.
It is a good film, yeah. Any more likes?
Lots. I mean, I've covered most of them. I think it's a really important film. I love how It's in a setting you just don't ever envisage a horror film to be set. And I love how it weaves with real life events.
Yeah.
Like the Iraqi-Iran war, the War of Two Cities, I think it was called, is a real event. And then you've got this subtext for anxiety and worry. And if you're really down and really low and really unhappy, and the war will do that to you, it allows a door to open for the Djinn to get in and haunt you. And then when they run from a scene of terror, she doesn't have a headscarf on and the police pull her in.
Exactly.
And it's like, fuck me, there's no, like, take away the ghost, take away the bombs, she's still fucked.
Yeah.
That's why I think it's excellent.
Well, fear follows you.
Yeah.
So even in a safe space at home, she feels threatened. She can't go to a place that's meant to be safe for everyone in a police station.
Exactly.
They're not even listening to the horrible things that are happening to her amidst a war. They're more focused on, well, look, you have no shame. Your head's not covered. Your arms aren't covered.
Keep that shit to yourself.
Yeah, what are you doing?
Keep that shit to yourself.
It doesn't matter if the person in distress is male, female, or other. If they are in trouble and needs assistance, it's your job as a policeman, a man of authority, to help them. Not look at what they're wearing or their beliefs are. Like, leave that shit at the door. You have a job to do it.
I always wonder if it's because that religion in particular is one of the youngest religions, that they're still quite far behind the times in terms of adapting to like modern age. Like, because you don't really get it anymore in like Judaism or Catholicism, where, you know, we control women and we control how everything's conducted from the church. We don't we separated church and state. So Judaism's like 3,000 years old, Christianity's 2,000, Islam's 1,400 years old.
Is it?
So Christianity was like 400 or 500 years ahead of it.
I had no idea.
Oh yeah, started in the 7th century. Muhammad was a war leader. He basically spread Islam by the sword, and he self-prophesied, made himself a prophet in the 6th century, 7th century. So I always wonder, like, you think they're like 400 or 500 years younger than Christianity. If they're still in that stage of controlling and manipulating and literally having a hold over how you conduct your life. Yeah. Whereas we had this in Christianity. We had the Inquisition. You know, we used to burn women if they lived alone in the woods. We'd burn them as witches and stuff. Yeah, I do wonder if it's to do with that, to still be having such archaic practices.
That's an interesting question that I think it would take a lot more cultured and
than a film podcast
people to answer the question.
I don't know, if you've got a nut between your fucking ears, it's quite simple.
Well, yeah, I mean, basically they're using Internet Explorer when the rest of the world's using Chrome or Mozilla Firefox. It's like, adapt and move on. Like, that's barbaric. Like, we've evolved as a species, as a whole. Surely you know that is just madness. Treating people like that is just, well, it's abhorrent, it's disgusting, it's
just
ridiculous.
Have the opinion. Maybe if you don't agree with the fact that person doesn't have a headscarf on, you can just say to yourself, I'm not going to associate myself with them because I disagree with it.
I hold traditional values.
Yeah.
It doesn't align with my thoughts and feelings, but do you know what I'm not going to do?
Stone
I'm not
them.
going to kick the shit out of them.
No.
It's madness.
Yes.
Yeah. It'd be like me walking in a Chelsea shirt, seeing an Arsenal fan, and like beating him up.
Which is a hooligan.
It has happened. We've passed.
You see the point. You've applied hooliganism to that analogy.
Exactly.
This is no different.
Yeah.
It's hooliganism.
It's a pure, unfiltered madness, mate.
Yes.
It is. Well, I've gone to what I liked about the film.
Well, why don't you do that then?
I'm going to. And it's a slow, effective build-up of tension. I sniffed out horror early into this film, but had no idea when, where, or how it was going to show its ugly face. Under the Shadow puts an evil spin on the Djinn, or genie as it's known in the West. And I don't know about you, this intrigued me immediately. And the decision to depict it as something that feeds on fear rather than something that grants wishes was really interesting to me. Instead of being there to serve, this Djinn served itself by weaponizing worry and stress and feeding on it. And I loved that Under the Shadow had lots of metaphor and meaning that simmered away under the surface rather than being thrown into your face. Now, isn't that just one of the most Western things you've ever heard? Taking a mythology and making it like friendly and making it grant wishes rather than possess you and like make your life a living hell. Yeah. Because my exposure to genies or the Djinn in Western culture has been, there's these mythical dudes that live in a lamp, you rub it, they give you 3 wishes. You can't wish for more wishes. You can't wish for people to bring people back for the dead. Yeah. Now, it's only through my recent evolution of being a cinephile and a series consumer that I've learned more about it. And they touch on that in American Gods and the recent 3,000 Years of Longing. But I've got to my mid-30s before I realised that the sort of source material for gin is evil, is dodgy as fuck, dodgy gin. And for me, that fascinates me.
They show that a little in The Witcher, don't they?
Yes, they do.
He captures a djinn, and even in the subtitle, it's spelled similar to this DJINN, and it's a ominous djinn, but it will grant wishes, but it can possess you and make it. So it's sort of found a blend between the world of Aladdin and this sort of Arabian myth, which is really cool.
Like a mongrel of mythology.
Oh,
behind 57 of baked beans.
Oh, Dad.
Last thing I liked about it was just a pure pleasant surprise. Like I touched on earlier, I knew absolutely nothing about this before going in. I didn't even look it up on IMDb or watch a trailer, which is a rare thing for me.
Weren't inspired.
Yeah, I thought I have gone this long without knowing anything about it. I'm going to go in blind.
Nice.
Because sometimes that's a nice little surprise.
You Stevie wondered it.
I did. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think going in blind enhanced my experience. While parts of it genuinely made me jolt on my sofa, I love it when a film takes you on an unexpected journey. And like you said, the way the film weaves belief and fantasy with the sickening horror of real life really took me somewhere where I wasn't necessarily expecting to go. And in a time where everything is on streaming services, everyone's got an Instagram page or a podcast or has their opinion out there, it's quite a rare thing to unearth a film that you know zilch about. And it sort of encouraged me to do that with a few more films. I think just go in like the good old days where, like you've said before on the podcast, you go into HMV, pick up a case, 5-star total film,
4 or 5
Empire, I'm going to give this dog a walk.
Always.
And you do it.
Always.
I'm going to try and do that a bit more. So in future, if you are choosing an episode and I've not heard anything about it, I'm going to leave it like that and then just go in blind.
That's cool.
Yeah,
I'm down with that, dog.
What didn't you like about Under the Shadow?
Reprimanding your kid for wetting the bed.
Yeah.
I had a nervous bladder until the age of about 11.
You were 26, mate.
Yeah. And it's sad, man. It's sad to not know why you wet the bed at that age. And when parents like berate you or say you're a big girl now, well, I'm sorry that I was asleep and my brain said we. I'm not in control of that.
Yeah.
Don't berate your kid for wetting the bed. She lives in a fucking war zone.
That's the least of her problems if she's a bit pissy-panty at night. There's
it's
bigger
not
things.
Something you can control. Outside of not drinking a pint of water before you go to bed and going for a wee before you go to bed, if you wet yourself, you can't be reprimanded for that.
And she's a child. If it was me and you after 15 pints of Guinness, stumbled into bed, pissed or shat the bed, then you reprimand the individual.
Yep.
Because you're a fully grown person, you had too much to drink, and now look at the mess you've made.
Exactly.
That's understandable.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think that she should have been punished for that. It's a bit harsh.
raw, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's a bit cold.
There's a lot going on.
There's a lot going on.
Yeah. Any mores for me?
Yeah, ropey footage of the bomb being removed from the building wasn't necessary for the shot. Like, it didn't progress the story, and if you can't capture it believably, then leave it out.
Yeah, in a film that
just
does...
show the crane entering this sort of road, and I'll take it that you're implying that you've removed the bomb. But when you see the bomb, it's like a late 90s sort of graphic, not graphic, but like the quality of it doesn't look tangible, isn't it? Like you can touch it, and the crane sort of moves it out of the building. I thought you don't need to show that.
Yeah,
it's quite a personal film. It's close shot. It doesn't need the wide. It doesn't need a shot showing the removal of a bomb, 'cause it sort of it just cheapened the look of the film a little. Yeah,
I think in a film where there's so much deeper meaning, so much subtext, so much going on, it's talking so much more than just the threat that's the obvious in your face possessing beastie in your home. Like that could be suggested and be enough. I totally see what you're saying. It does look a bit ropey. It's probably a case of finance, isn't it? It didn't have the budget for it. It didn't look great. It didn't add anything to the film.
Just as a director, I would have been like, this doesn't progress the story.
You don't necessarily need it, no?
No. It had no sway on the plot or narrative. It didn't need to be seen, and because it was you've broke all of a sudden. You've broke the aesthetic of what we've been seeing so far up until that point.
Yeah,
I personally would have left it out.
And even the sort of parts that are meant to make you feel scared, they're not huge CGI pieces, are they? I
like them bits. I think there's an excellent scene. It's in the trailer if you ever watch the trailer, but excellent scene where the mum exits the front door of the house, pops up a few stairs, and when she turns around, there's this like bed sheet floating in the corner, and it bursts into the house and closes the door. I thought it was excellent.
Yeah, I mean that's the point I'm making. Like they managed to do the scares seemingly on a relatively small budget. You look at other like big Hollywood horror productions, there's a lot that goes into the making for the scares. In a world where it seems that they are making successful scares with a smaller budget, like keep that sort of trajectory going for that scene you're talking about. Like less is more, like you said that you opened my eyes to that in horror. Less is always more in horror, and when the jumps and the scares happen in this film, they are very impactful, but they're not huge in terms of production value. And I think that scene you're talking about, it is pretty, it's distracting, isn't it? The way it looks, not needed.
And what the hell's the huge mouth under the bed?
I don't know. Please don't.
But it's so odd.
Yeah,
like you obviously if you put a Reagan face in front of someone or a Freddy face, it's all scarred and fucked, and it's like it's trying to scare you. When you put like almost like a, you know, the sweet you can get of lips and teeth. Yeah. Like it's a chewy sweet.
Yeah.
It's like almost caricature, and that makes it disturbing.
I think it's like the Djinns almost. So for context, in the film, she's going through it at this point. The Djinns fully
the Djinn's gone and got it. Yeah, and she's in the middle of that
and she's been get. And she goes under the bed, and there's just this huge gob with massive gnashers, and it's almost like smiling at her. And it's, for me, it's like it's taunting her. It's like, I'm here now. You know I'm here.
And it was using her daughter's voice to lure the mum out from the basement. So the thing she hits in the basement is just her daughter.
Yeah.
Mum, don't go punch.
Yeah, I'm ignoring the fact that you're here in physical being. I hear your voice from a Djinn upstairs. I'm going to go and pursue that. Yeah, that fucked me up.
Have you seen that Narges Rashidi in anything else? She's really good.
Yeah, she's in I've only seen her in Gangs of London.
I haven't seen her in anything else.
And she's a badass, like, gangster boss, but like forced to be a gangster because of like her family being gangsters.
I will have to watch that.
Yeah, she's great in it. She is really good. She's a lot of her character has to do with like the lead played by Joe Cole and their chemistry, and herself in it. She's brilliant.
Joe Cole?
Good. Yeah. Fella from Peaky Blinders.
Yes, the youngest brother.
Yeah.
I know who you mean.
Yeah.
That's cool.
It's definitely worth seeking out. She's tremendous in it. It's a good series.
Yeah.
Got any more dislikes for me?
No, man.
Yeah.
No, I think I've covered it all.
I'll go on to mine, and the main one being jump scares. I just don't like being made to jump, man. The first one was from a fucking toaster popping out toast, and I nearly threw red wine all over myself. I don't react well to physically jumping out of fear, and it's a sensation I don't think I will ever enjoy or come to terms with. Now, I know people get great kicks out of it. It's like roller coasters. I don't mind a roller coaster, but when I'm on there, I'm always thinking, why am I here? Why am I doing this? I don't like to be scared. So it doesn't matter how many times I sort of put myself through a horror film. When it's happening, I fucking hate it. The tension. I'm an anxious man as it is. When I'm in a horror film and I'm waiting to be scared, I just don't do very well.
Would you say this one's high up there for how much it made you jump, or have you seen ones that have made you really, like, pound for pound, like every 3 minutes?
I'll tell you, Dad, the one film that made me shit pants before Ibs came into play. Enemy by Jake Gyllenhaal. It's not a horror. But sort of fear in this film, Enemy by Denis Villeneuve, is shown by a spider. Uncertainty is shown by a spider, and the film starts and there's a tarantula. So already I'm like, this film's a 2.
Oh, no.
But throughout the film, the spider gets bigger because the danger, the threat, the fear, it's sort of metaphorical. It gets bigger and bigger. And later on in the film, it's like this huge spider in the distance on buildings. The last shot of the film, I have never, talking of roller coasters, I screamed like I was fucking on one.
God.
Door opens and imagine this room, I'm going to be sick. Imagine this room was full of one great big fucking spider.
Oh, so it's like contorted itself to fit.
Yeah. And this door opens right at the end, and as it opens, you're just greeted with a fucking room-filling tarantula thing. I was watching it with my brother, and I fucking screamed.
That's not literal, though. It's speaking to something. The spider.
It's metaphorical. It's like you can't ignore the bad thing you've done.
This film. That's Denis Villeneuve.
Yeah, Enemy. Watch it. I can't ever watch it.
Post Incendies or pre?
Post.
And is it pre Blade Runner?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. It's in that, I think it was before or during the time he made Prisoners. So it's where the sort of American producers and distribution companies were like, this is a director with talent. And they gave him a bigger scope, and he's been going on, and now he's obviously doing Dune. But that was a film that wasn't necessarily a horror, but that fucked me up.
Oh, mate.
The other one, Sinister. I mean, I want to watch Hereditary,
Conjuring,
but I know how fucking terrifying people find that film, and I know it's one that you don't necessarily think is that scary.
No, I don't think you should treat it with the same fear that you say you would treat Exorcist or something. Yeah. I don't think it's Ari Aster, isn't it?
Yeah.
So if you watched Midsummer and stuff,
yeah,
it's culty, so it's not like it's devil worship, but it's not necessarily devil.
I think, as we said on this podcast before, or I've said, spiders and possession, man, they're my two red flags. I can't deal with it. So anything with possession, like this film's got a lot of possession about it, and Enemy, which is about a fucking room filling spider.
Yep.
Yeah, not comfortable. I actually feel uncomfortable even talking about it.
You love it.
Second thing I didn't like about the film was Danger waited for Daddy Doctor to leave. I may not be the right person to offer this up as a conversation starter, as I'm far from being a horror expert, but the way the film waits for Daddy to leave before it gets dark feels like it's done too much in horror.
Doesn't the djinn arrive by the bomb?
Yeah.
So the daddy left and then the bomb landed?
Yeah, but for me it feels like it's like the director thought to make it more frightening, the stereotypical strong male had to leave the vulnerable woman and child at home on their own. Now, I put it to ye that it would have been even more scary if all three of them had to stay and deal with a dodgy djinn as a family because they had nowhere else to go. But saying that, I will yield based on what you said about the film being about how women are treated as second-rate citizens.
She needs to be to resolve it on her own.
She had to, as an audience member, not from that culture, has to see like the fear and the terror it would be to live in a state that reprimands women for not abiding by these very strict rules. So I do get what you said, but from watching it, I was like, I'd instead of like Daddy going away and this woman being perceived as gone mad because of all the stress and stuff she's under, if they all went through it as a family, that would be equally terrifying.
It would, but I don't think that it's very similar to Babadook because it's the mum and the child. You don't have the masculine way of, say, trying to resolve it, like getting a baseball bat.
Yeah,
like a man would just, his first instinct would be, I'm going to grab a baseball bat, whereas a woman's thinking 4 steps ahead and thinks this is not a fucking human being.
Yeah, a baseball bat's going to not even tickle.
I would. If I thought this house was haunted and I woke up and I could hear something horrific like going on in the living room and like say partners next to me and they're like, what the hell was that? I would reach for a baseball bat. Not, let's say I know it's a ghost. I think having it just the mum and the daughter makes it a lot easier to track the story. I think the dad would have overcrowded the scene.
Yeah.
I feel like having them two there, it's scary because the daughter keeps jumping in and out of almost like she's got a fever. So there's always like a worldly explanation to what's going on in the film and a ghostly sort of explanation. The girl, you could say by all means is possessed, but you could also say she's got high fever, highly stressed, can't get better because they live in a war zone, which is highly stressful. Yeah. I mean, you see it every day in the news at the moment, what's going on in Gaza and Israel, so what it can do to young kids. So everything can be interpreted in this film as hallucinogen through exhaustion.
It's true, yeah.
So, I don't know, I like it that Dad's not in it.
Yeah, I mean, for me, and again, this is as someone that considers themselves like a base level horror fan, not even a horror fan, just base level horror knowledge. And it feels like the horror films that I've seen, it's always feels like the stereotypical strong male is sent off somewhere or killed off early or dealt with early, and then
killed off early happens a lot,
and then it's always more vulnerable people left, or what are perceived to be more vulnerable people left in terms of stature, physicality and stuff like that. From what I've seen, that's quite a common trope in the horrors that I've experienced. And for me, it's like, well, I guess my argument is...
Well, because it arrives only when he leaves.
Exactly. And
like he was a threat.
Yeah. Like,
which is not,
of course, bollocks. If he was there, he's not going to stop a possessing djinn from doing all the shit it does.
No.
Like you said, there's nothing he would have done. And I think that's what my sort of immediate problem was with it. It's like, why did they have to ship him off? But saying that, I as I said, I do yield because of what you said about the sort of deeper meaning about gender in that sort of part of the world and stuff. So yeah, it's just a little dislike that I thought I'd share. My final one is much more of a very real dislike. Big bed mouth, running naked man, and shifty sinister sheet float.
I mean, you did it.
Yeah.
You did it, mate.
Yeah. Under the beds, there was just a fucking massive mouth that made me want to look under my own bed.
In a hoodie?
Yeah, I did it. I did look under my own bed. Imagine that, 36 years of age, looking under a bed for a huge mouth because of something that was in a film.
Mm-hmm.
The running naked man that dove into the ceiling reminded me of the greased up deaf guy from Family Guy. Yeah. Ain't never gonna catch me. Yeah. Couldn't help but see that, and that frightened me. And the floating sheet made me remove my dressing gown that hangs on the back of my bedroom door. All true.
I didn't like the floating sheet.
Under the Shadow reminded me how uncomfortable horror makes me, and I dislike how affected I get by these type of films.
Mm.
And I've said it before, I say again, it don't take much.
I reckon you should, for the fans and for everyone else, watch The Haunting of Hill House. 100p, mate. The director...
Series?
Yeah, it's a series. It's anthological. So they've done a few series. The first one's the only one worth watching, in my opinion. I don't rate Fall of Usher or the other one, Bly Manor. But the first one, pound for pound, it's terrifying. And the director inserted ghosts all throughout the shots, but hid them in a way where only a keen eye would see them. And when you see them and you realise the director can continue the story, it doesn't matter whether you see it or not. And when you see them, you feel like you've been haunted.
Oh, and I don't even, that makes me a little bit unsteady. Yeah.
Really scary.
I mean, for the purpose of the podcast, I will watch films that I wouldn't necessarily watch, and that's certainly been the case with, I'd say, in the last couple of years, I've watched more horrors than I've ever watched. So I am more open to watching them. There was a time, and I'm not talking even too long ago, where I wouldn't even, if it said horror, I'd be like, nope, not watching.
Strange though, because you do like films like Dogtooth and Lamb, which you could say are horrors.
Yeah, but I think it's deep rooted in being raised as a Catholic and having a whole sort of organisation telling you how shit you are, and like how the devil is real and you can be possessed and all that, hearing that shit every Sunday for a very young age. Whereas if it's very human, like fucked up thrillers, I love that. But when it's paranormal, anything paranormal, I'm like,
So that means you believe. To fear it, you must believe.
No comment.
I'll get it out of you one day.
I've got some questions.
You can believe. I don't care. It's funny.
I've got some questions.
It's funny.
It's funny. Your faith is funny to me.
Yeah, of course.
Questions?
Yeah.
What is your favourite horror film that actually has something to say rather than being created purely for scare's sake?
Cunt can't even talk. I'm joking. Ask it again.
What is your favourite horror film that actually has something to say rather than being created purely for scare's sake?
Tumbad.
Oh, hello, good sir.
And I'll tell you what for. Because in Tumbad, let's not talk about the exposition or anything. What's important in Tumbad is the guy wants to be rich, he wants to be successful. And he finds a glitch in this sort of mythology where he can obtain these gold coins.
Mm.
And basically, if you make this like dough, this bread, this little bit of loaf, or it's like a sweet Indian bread thing, he crawls into this old temple, and when you put it down, this creature comes out to eat it. And as it has its back turned to eat one bit of bread, he can grab this one coin that this creature protects. And then towards the end of his career, he says to his son, like, we're going to go and do this, but we're going to try and get as many coins as we can. So they make about 10 or 12, 15 loaves of these bread. And it's such an excellent part of the film because it's to do with greed, the story. You know, how far will you go for the money and how much of yourself will you lose in the journey to get the money?
Okay.
When they put all these loaves out, that one creature multiplies into 12 creatures. He thought, one loaf of bread, I get one coin, 12 loaves of bread. That creature's going to be busy for 12 loaves of bread and I'll get 12 coins. 12 fuckers multiply.
And
the problem escalates because the greed overtook him.
Instead of being grateful for what he managed to get and has, he wanted to push for more.
Yeah, he tried to manipulate the situation to best serve himself.
Yeah.
For greed.
I like that.
And you see a distortion of his character from being a little boy up until an old man. But yeah, I found that excellent when I was watching that because I didn't see it coming. And when he puts these bread cookies or whatever they are, it's been years since I've seen it, so I might be even having the numbers wrong. But when you see that this creature multiplies because he's put more than one out, it was just an excellent little twist. It was like, oh shit, he's effed up because now he's in there, much harder to get out.
Yeah.
So I loved Tumbad for that reason.
That's a great fucking answer.
I think horror films, man, if they're for me personally, when they're foreign, they're just so much more like I'm more invested.
Yeah.
Maybe and they could be really shit at acting or delivering their lines, but I don't know because it's in a foreign language.
It's exactly that, because it's so far removed from your own experience. Like, you don't speak the mother tongue, you don't know the culture that they're representing. All of this, you can watch it, I think, with more accepting eyes. Whereas if it's set in England or the US or anywhere like that, you're going to be watching it and go, well, if
it's bad.
Yeah, that's awful. Like, I'm not buying that you're scared there. Like, your reaction is ridiculous. Like, it's hard to look past that.
Remember the big Japanese horror ones, like The Grudge and The Ring, the originals?
Ringu. Yeah, I've not touched any of them. Yeah, apparently they're
terrifying.
Incredible. Yeah, I mean, my answer for that question is two films that we've covered on this podcast, and I think it stems from sort of finally going over it for what we do here, and that's Get Out and The Whale. Both of them I've watched before doing the podcast episode on them, and then exploring it for the podcast's sake.
I reckon you'd have trouble selling them as horrors.
I don't. No.
Get Out, I suppose, is because it's horrific.
I think The Whale is the one that people go like, how is that a horror? But I think it is a horror because we are all a huge personal grief away from ending up like Charlie does in that film. And it might not be, you might not end up the size of Charlie. You might become addicted to alcohol, smoking, drugs, sleeping tablets, anything. Like, we're all a grievance away from that potentially happening. And I think that's more scary than anything you can make up.
It put me off pizza. For I'm not lying to you, I'd enjoy pizza maybe once every 2 or 3 weeks.
Yeah.
It was just on Tuesdays or something, 2 for Tuesdays. Very busy. I thought I'd get pizzas in and stuff. I watched this film. Took me so long to watch this film. Took me like 4 hours because I had to keep pausing because I felt really sick watching it.
And if a film
Can
puts
do
you
that,
off
yeah.
of pizza,
Yeah.
that's terrifying.
Yeah.
Because I fucking love pizza, bro.
And if you are a fan of Turtles, and you, when they eat pizza and that, you go, I'm going to get pizza.
Yeah, you do.
And you can't anymore
No.
because you've watched Charlie in The Whale and that sack of skin on his back that turned brown over winter.
And lest we forget, man puts blackcurrant jam ponder pizza.
Ponder pizza.
And that is unforgivable and terrifying.
Oh, do you know what? I appreciated it when he put packed ham though on his pizza because I've done that.
Sometimes
I've double loaded a pizza before. I've gone, that topping's not good enough.
Yeah.
And then I've gone and put ham and cheese on and doubled that dog.
Yeah, that's just intelligence, mate. That's all that is.
Yeah.
That's downright smart.
Okay, that's cool. I mean, they're unique. Maybe you need a bit more exposure to some more mainstream horror.
Yeah. But I think they've got deeper meanings.
Smart answers.
Thanks.
Smart answers.
Under the Shadow uses uncertainty, anxiety, and grief as the main ingredients of fear-mongering. Is real life and these very real, very human emotions and problems more terrifying than anything we can make up from our imaginations?
Yes, of course.
Yep.
100%.
Easy question, easy answer.
Easy. I've always said, do you know what? If I saw a ghost, I'd be excited because it would mean that nothing matters anymore. Taxis don't matter. If I saw an alien, I'd feel the same. The truth is, we're stuck with just actually reality, which is so much worse.
Yeah,
I'd rather be haunted than be taxed another pound by a Conservative government. Oh shit, and don't ever be political, Harry. Ever.
A little bit.
Yeah,
You just showed an ankle
any
of
government, fuck
political.
that. Yeah, of course.
It's only a little flirtation with political. That's okay.
Our imaginations, that's an escape. Give me a ghost story any day. I think reality's a lot worse.
Reality is fucking terrifying.
Grimm's.
What is your favourite on-screen depiction of a djinn or a genie?
Not really.
Not a genie guy?
No,
Not a
it's
djinn
ever
dude?
done it for me.
No?
Just to give you an answer, I'll just go with the original animated Aladdin. I won't even give the bloody Will Smith one the time of day. I hate all that live action remakes of animations.
Yeah, it's not great.
They all suck.
It's not great.
Was it Dumbo, Cinderella,
Lion King.
Oh, fuck off.
Little Mermaid.
Yeah,
I've done it to all of them.
It's just, and they're all shit. The Tom Hanks Pinocchio one was turd on a sandwich. It was crap.
Yeah, it was.
I can't stand them. I didn't mind. It was very short, but there was a depiction of a djinn in The Witcher, which I enjoyed The Witcher for season 1. 2 really started to falter, and 3 is some of the worst television you will ever see,
Can I get
ever watch. I'm joking.
Oh, you fuck. Just for the listener, Harry gave me... I'm still going to look. Harry gave me some eyes like there was something spider-like behind me, and I bought it.
There is a huge web up near the St. Patrick's Day Guinness hat. Huge web.
Let's wrap up then. My favourite on-screen Djinns and Genies is 1,000 Years of Longing and American Gods, both because they're painted in a different sort of... slightly different frame to... my first exposure to the genie, which was Robin Williams in Genie.
Is that Tilda Swinton and Idris Elba?
Yeah. And now it's sort of popped up more in more things I've watched, and certainly after watching Under the Shadow, it's certainly something that I'd be interested in seeing a bit more of. So, yeah, they'd be my answers.
Like
what would you rate Under the Shadow out of 10?
8 out of 10.
Okay.
Yes.
I'm just doing some maths. It's not my strongest point.
Oh, that's because you've 0.5'd or something.
I have 0.5.
You knew you'd 0.5.
I 0.5 based on your heartfelt first
amazing.
like.
I mean, that's amazing. If I can pull a 0.5, if I can add a 0.5 to you, exceptional.
So, full disclosure, I did have it at a 7, and then when you spoke about it, I was like, you know what? I think I like this more than that. Yeah. And so, I would go with a 7.5.
That's good. That is generous. I've honestly thought you would have given the film a 6 with positives. I thought you'd have been like, I enjoyed it, but it's a 6.
I mean, again, horror's not my forte, and if I can give a horror film a 7.5, maybe that means I'm growing as an individual, and we love to see that here.
Yes.
That gives Under the Shadow a total score of 15.5 out of 20. If you like your horrors to be harrowing, historically accurate, and honestly kind of fucking horrible, or if you have ever wanted to see a genuinely dastardly djinn do dodgy dementor drifting whilst dishing out disturbing danger dreams...
How did you do that?
...then Under the Shadow could be a film for you.
How did you do that?
What?
That was mad.
Did you like
all
it?
them D's and J's?
Yeah. I am a DJ.
That's crazy. I almost had a seizure.
Under the Shadow is available to stream on Netflix. Consider watching this one if you enjoyed Holy Spider, 3,000 Years of Longing, and He's House. Should we play a game?
Yes.
Give it a name, give it a name, give it a name now. We birth a plot and then make a trailer. What the plot?
Action!
Me this week. Yeah?
Yeah?
Me this week. All right. I'm going to start with a real quote.
Ooh.
A real life quote. I would absolutely love to make a movie about a stutterer, actress Emily Blunt has told the BBC. You get that?
Yeah.
You hear that?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I want to do a film about Emily Blunt wanting to do a film about someone with a stutter. Very like being John Malkovich, if you will.
Okay.
So the film is her wanting to raise the funds and awareness to do a film about someone that stutters.
Okay.
You see where I'm coming from?
I feel as I do.
Like I read this story and I thought it was funny. Not funny like to rip on people with a stutter. I found it funny that she's telling the world that she wants to do a film about someone who's got a stutter. And I thought, well, the story that we all know currently is that she wants to do a film about someone who's got a stutter. So we should do a film about her wanting to do someone that's got a stutter.
Yeah. So it wouldn't be a documentary because she wouldn't be like a floating head saying, "Oh, this is Gavin. He's got a stutter. He's
she plays herself.
Stutter." So she would be directing or starring as someone with a stutter.
She's Emily Blunt in a film.
Okay.
About Emily Blunt wanting to get the funds together to do a film about someone with a stutter. So it's meta in a way like JCVD is, like Jean-Claude Van Damme film, where he's playing Jean-Claude Van Damme in going into a bank getting put up for robbery.
Okay.
It's John Malkovich titled the film, let's say that's Spike Jonze, isn't it?
Yeah,
John Malkovich. Being John Malkovich is the name of the actor being John Malkovich.
So, and it would be also like The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent. It's about Nicolas Cage as Nicolas Cage.
Yes.
But this would be Emily Blunt playing someone who has... It would be the story of her playing someone who has a stutter.
No, it's the story of her trying to get a film on its feet about someone who's got a stutter.
It's like stutter awareness.
Well, yeah, but like sometimes it's like when you watch a film like Mank. Mank is about the guy who wrote the Citizen Kane, which is revered the world over as probably one of the greatest films of all time.
Okay,
and it's about Mank. It's about Mankiewicz who wrote it. Yeah. So that's in the grand scheme of things, that's the lesser story of Citizen Kane.
Yeah.
This is Emily Blunt wanting to do a film about someone with a stutter. There's a few other things she mentioned in the BBC article. She put, the emotional trauma of living with the inability to speak will limit you in ways that are, for someone who speaks fluently, pretty unimaginable.
So it is a deeply layered film as well. So that is a story that deserves telling, like struggling to find your voice, not being heard. And in a world where content needs to be so easy to digest and quick and fast, it would be hard to maybe in this landscape get the rights to make a film like that, because it's serious subject matter. You can't mock something like that. Really.
Well, people do.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that people shouldn't. We're so far in society and civilization where you should not really be making fun of people with speech impediments. Like in the 80s or 90s, you'd see that be rife in comedy films. It's Adam Sandler's bread and butter for fucking decades.
Well, it's weird you say it, because she went on to say, so as long as we can keep destigmatizing it, then there won't be so much shame. It can just be more acceptable, because I think it is one trait that is easily bullied still. Now, I have only ever felt sorry for people that have speech impediments. We have a joint friend at a pub who has a lisp, don't we?
And it's a very a very severe
lisp. And do you know what? Before we knew this guy, he would stare at us, and our first reaction, being male gorillas, but both actually being betas and trying to pretend that we're alphas, was like, why is he staring at us?
Yeah.
And then there was just this one interaction once where I said, hello, mate. And he went, oh, yeah, how are you doing? You all right? And I could tell then that's why he stares. Like he doesn't know how to approach people, how to talk to people, and it's crippling for him. But do you know what? When you sit and you just listen to the guy, talk to him, his speech impediment gets better.
When he's more, I've noticed that
gets more confident.
He's a regular at our local pub, and we have a chat with him. First few times I spoke to him, it was a real struggle, and I can't imagine that. I know what it's like to be an anxious person and struggle to meet new people and speak with new people and socialise. All those things, I understand that, but I can get my words out. I can get my point across. To be restricted, where imagine like speaking to someone and you can see them, like you can register that they can't hear what you're saying, or you can register that maybe they're getting impatient.
Like talking to elderly people.
Yeah. And it's exhausting for the person who's trying to understand if they can't. It's not their fault if they can't understand, but equally it's not the person's fault that has the stutter, and that must be exhausting for them, having to repeat themselves so many times. Like, I think that's an important subject matter for sure.
It is, but with me particularly on this one, I wanted to see exactly the process that Emily Blunt would have to go through to get a film off its feet.
Yeah.
And then towards the end, I'd say all you'd see was action. It's the first scene, and she starts, and then it goes to black.
Yeah.
So it's the journey of putting a film on its feet. Emily Blunt playing herself.
Yeah.
About getting a film off the ground that's about someone who suffers with stuttering.
So I like that.
Is it meta?
It is meta.
It's meta, isn't it?
Yeah. And when you first started this idea, the being John Malkovich came into my head immediately, and then you shortly said being John Malkovich. So like it's that sort of film, isn't it? Like it's. I mean, being John Malkovich is a lot more surreal and like artistic. It's a lot of creative license. Then it's about going into this small cupboard and entering the psyche and vision of being John Malkovich. Whereas this one, we're actually seeing Emily Blunt as Emily Blunt,
she struggled from it.
Yeah, trying to get a picture made, and you could see her. In a world where representation is key, you could see her speaking to actors and actresses or people that want to get into creating stuff with genuine speech impediments and stutters. You could see them being interviewed and hearing their perspective through the gaze of Emily Blunt. So I like that. It's shines a light on the difficulties of it and the process of we see actors and actresses and directors and producers speaking about how difficult it is to get their film made, and it's hard to sympathise with it because you're like, well, you're still getting tens of millions to try and get this done. I'd love that opportunity.
Amazing you bring that up, because a couple of times now you've said the thing that relates to some of the quotes that she's made, so that's really interesting. She put, certain environments will still create a struggle for me. If someone asks me to pitch them anything, it's a nightmare.
Yeah.
So again, it's not It's not just some rich mogul wanting to get a film made.
Yeah.
If you actually struggle to pitch an idea to people and your stutter comes back because you're nervous about pitching an idea.
Yeah. So I think it's
and
very...
I'm pitching an idea to you now.
Yeah.
It's meta on every level.
It's like a croissant of meta layers, because a croissant's got like 16 layers.
So many.
It's ridiculous.
That's why it tastes so good.
Because there's thought, there's layers in it, and this is a very layered, thoughtful croissant of a film. But yeah, I like the idea. I mean, you've helped me with the casting because Emily Blunt obviously plays herself.
No.
She does.
I was going to go with Elizabeth Banks.
Really?
Of course not.
Directing and starring Elizabeth
not.
Banks as Emily Blunt playing Emily Blunt.
Yes.
That's a murky croissant.
Don't go there.
No.
You're bordering on the insane then.
So I really like that because it speaks about finding a voice, even how it can be difficult for superstars to find a voice. If it's not in the sort of zeitgeist of what's popular and the subject matter that people is current and interesting now, it's going to be hard to get made. So it'd be interesting to see her in a film environment pursue a story that is not represented all too often. I mean, you've got ones I can think of at the top of my head, The King's Speech with Colin Firth.
Yes.
I don't know if I can think of anymore.
What's she going on about?
Well, I mean, but I can think
exists.
I think of one film.
Yeah, but there's films that sort of are in that ballpark. Like My Left Foot and Shine. They're films where... I don't know if you call it disabilities or ailments have stuttered your career.
Yeah.
That weren't intentional.
that
was not intentional.
It works. It's good. So yeah, I do like this as an idea. It would be a straight up drama film. I think it'd be important. There could be moments of well intentioned, genuine humour in it, but I think it's important that it's not labelled as a comedy because you're not laughing at this, trying to get this story made. You're not.
No,
you're not.
Who's going to play Emily Blunt's husband? Who would you cast for that?
I didn't know I was casting Emily Blunt's husband, but you don't
have to.
I immediately would go to her real husband in real life because I'm a simple pure boy. But I wouldn't do that.
Very smart.
Oh no, but
so
if
now
she is, no, we are.
But it is Emily
because
Blunt.
if it is Emily Blunt playing herself, it would have to be John Krasinski.
But in the film, it could be someone else.
No, it'd have to be. Because they're going, if I'm watching a film that's Emily Blunt playing Emily Blunt, her husband would have to be her real husband for me.
But
to be meta.
Is Emily Blunt casted within the film as the lead of the stutter film? Or is she just the one trying to get it off its feet? Is she going to self-star in the film she's trying to put forward? So her and John Krasinski could be talking in their kitchen about how far they've got in getting production to sign on, get it funded. And then when they go onto the set, it's two people that aren't even them acting it out.
So that is...
But she doesn't even have a stutter anymore, so it can't be about her. It would be her when she was little.
So it's a biopic now?
I don't know.
Well, I've gone with the film's narrative is about Emily Blunt playing Emily Blunt trying to get a film made about someone with a stutter.
And so she had a stutter.
Yeah, and so maybe in the film she finds within the narrative, this made-up structure of the film, she finds someone with an actual stutter to play her in a film, but that's the film's story,
yes,
if that makes sense.
Of course.
Now, I've thought long and hard about a director, but as soon as I heard about this being meta, I just couldn't look past Spike Jonze from being John Malkovich. Like I really tried to push past, and he did Her as well, didn't he?
Yeah, you said that's. Was that Joaquin Phoenix?
Yeah, and that's while it's not meta, it's a very self-aware film about where artificial intelligence is going and our dependence on technology. So I think he's got it in him to make a very serious film that sort of tries to find the right balance on a sensitive subject matter. So I'd have Spike Jonze starring. I'd have Emily Blunt playing Emily Blunt in a film where she's trying to make a film about a stutter.
Yes.
Her husband would be played by John Krasinski, who's her husband. And the only other bit of casting I have in it is like she has to try and convince someone, so like a studio executive.
Like a Weinstein.
Yeah, but not so problematic.
Yes.
But he'd have to try and sort of get an executive to back her and make this film. And in that role, the only person I could envision in my head was Holt McCallany. Holt McCallany. I don't know how to say his name. Sorry, Holt. But he's Mindhunter,
yes.
Nightmare Alley, Fight Club. Great supporting actor. I could
see
him as being that stern, like, well, I'm not budging. The people don't want to see a film about this. It's a really interesting, layered meta film now. I really like it. It's a really good idea.
Yeah, and why did they not want to see a film like this?
Exactly, yeah. So it'd be a straightforward drama. Spike Jonze directing, Emily Blunt John Krasinski and Holt McCallany, and I'd call the film Did I Stutter? Harry.
What?
Do you think it's acceptable for us to use real footage of Emily Blunt talking about her speech impediment?
It's for a good cause.
It is, yeah.
It's for a good cause, don't worry.
Yeah, but it's important that you shine a light on it. And us actually showing the listener that we're discussing this topic shows that we're being meta about a film that's going to be meta, so that makes it double meta, which is really on trend right now.
Then why are you asking me?
I just want to make sure, because I don't want us to get cancelled before we've even got fucking found, so it's important.
The worst thing you could say to someone is, you could finish their sentence. That's so frustrating if someone does it. The worst thing you can say is breathe or slow down. It's not about that.
More than 80 million people internationally stutter. Emily Blunt wants to help them find their voice.
I feel like my stutter was more under control by the time I was about 14. It still comes back and flares if I'm really tired, or when I was pregnant, it was really, really prominent again.
Is that because of
no
breathing?
Space?
Yeah,
No diaphragm movement. And
She goes on a bit, doesn't she?
Right?